Wow, what a guy. Tonight, folks, we will be doing a special edition show about a person who leaves a lasting impression with everyone he meets. And I'm talking about none other than my very good friend, Bob Eustace. Hi, my name is Jaime Putz, and I'll be your MC tonight as we meet with some of the people whose lives he's touched. Perhaps they can lend a little insight into this highly astute and complex individual. Tonight is also the eve of an era in the life of Bob Eustace. For tomorrow, when he awakens, he will embark upon midlife. Sorry, Bob. So without further ado, let's meet with some of these people who find Bob truly airtight and dynamic. Take it away, Carl.
Thank you, Jaime. Hi, I'm Carl Arrechea, and we're at the video store of
Rich Hines.
Rich Hines. How you doing, Rich? Well, maybe we can get a little insight into the mystery of Robert Eustace. Let's see. How long have you known Bobby?
Well, I first met Bob in the hospital when we were about 12 years old. I had grown too much hair, and I had to have some taken out. And Bob was actually getting a body transplant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he used to be 6'2", had blue eyes, and he came in. He had major surgery and decided he didn't want to have a waist.
Okay.
So he came in, he got his body transplant, and he had the Pillsbury Doughboy they used for his body, yeah.
Well, he's never looked better. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the guy just improves with age. Sorry about that, Bob. Can you tell me maybe anything exciting ever happened between you and Bob? I mean, you guys ever do anything interesting? The guy's
well, actually,
a little boring, but
actually, Carl, we did save his career one night. We were out in front of I think at Charlie Brown's, where he used to work, and he got pretty fed up with his job, so he decided he was going to streak the place, and we had a pretty good heat on that night. We had a lot of fun. And Bobby got out there on the top stairs of Charlie Brown's and took off his clothes.
Yep.
Every stitch. We had a ball that night. We kept telling him not to do it, and he said, no, I'm going to streak Charlie Brown's at midnight. And he got up there on the front steps. We stopped him, and that was his career. We stopped him, and he would have lost his job. He wouldn't be where he is today if it hadn't been for us.
Yeah, Bob seems to like pulling down his pants a lot, especially in public where he can be seen. Thank you very much for a little insight into Bob Eustace. And now we'll find out if we can get some more insight from someone else. Thank you. Thank you, Rich.
Carl. Thank you.
Well, Bob, I know this isn't going to lend any insight into your life, but at least it might make it a little happier.
birthday, Bobby! Yay!
Well, that was most refreshing. But now we're at a very busy seafood restaurant in Embarcadero Center, and excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
Yes?
Are you the manager here?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact. How
Well,
did you know that?
Well, I took it for granted, but have you ever heard of Bob Eustace?
Bob Eustace. Now, let me think.
Does it ring a bell?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I used to know this fellow with severe hemorrhoid problems. I think that's the fellow.
Yes.
Yes. Is that who you?
I think we're on the right track.
Yes, I definitely think he's a hemorrhoid.
Perfect.
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Anything you can tell me about this particular character?
Well, Bob used to have no problems with flatulence at all. He just let it go. It was awesome, totally. Yeah,
Flatulence sounds like his forte.
Oh, yes, it was definitely his bag. I remember sitting in evenings after inventory till 5 o'clock in the morning, and I tell you, that office was very small, very, very small. I had to crawl out of there sometimes. It was terrible, terrible thing. Terrible.
Yeah.
And we worked together for, I guess about 3 or 4 days, and I had to give it up after that. Yes, it was just awful.
I said, was this when you first came in contact with Mr. Eustace? Your first encounter with him? Was this?
Well, I always kept a 10-foot barge pole handy because it was so difficult, yes. So.
Tell me, when you grow up, would you like to be just like Bob?
I don't intend growing that tall, but I'd love to be like Bob Eustace. He's a very warm, I can't think of anything nice to say about him, to tell you the truth.
Well, are you aware that he's reaching midlife?
He is?
Over the hill, maybe?
He's been over the hill for about 20 years. So.
Those are very good words, kind words, I would say, and in this particular case, probably most appropriate. Perhaps maybe one other question. What do you think is in store in the future here for Mr. Eustace? Have you heard from him lately?
Well, for the future, they say that not much is going to happen to him. As a matter of fact, that he's probably just going to fade away. That there's not much future for somebody like him.
Well, very good, sir. Thank you for your comments. And your name again, please?
Bill McSweeney.
Very good, Bill. And, well, that'll do it here from Embarcadero Center. And now we're going to go across town and see if we can get a little more insight into Mr. Eustace.
I met you 16 years ago, but you don't remember me. And...
Well, we're across the bay now at one of California's foremost institutions.
The foremost. The foremost institution.
Thank you very much. The foremost institution. And Bob, you could still be here today.
It'd probably be a lot better if you were.
Well, that's possible too. What is your name, sir?
My name is Chancellor Ray Whitaker.
Thank you. And what is your acquaintance with Mr. Eustace?
About 2 days. No, actually, I met him when we were in school 6 or 7 years ago. We got a late start.
Very good. You've done very well for yourself.
Yes, I've risen rapidly. I've risen very rapidly.
And what is a famous moment you can tell me about between you and Mr. Eustace? What do you think you can relate to with Bob?
Nothing.
Thank you. This is really a stimulating interview here over at the university. Tell me anything.
Well,
there's not much to tell about Bob, but we can try.
But I'll say this. You know, Will Rogers once said he never met a man he didn't like. He never met Bob Eustace. Actually, it's Robert D. as in dildo Eustace.
I think I've heard that before.
I'm sure you have. He's famous for those long dumps.
Very long. Hurt me.
Often he would suggest we wrap the product in tin foil and serve it at UC Berkeley or Charlie Brown's.
This is true. In fact, when I've had him in my house, I notice that whenever he's done, he always calls me in to come in and inspect the product. You know, he's very proud of it.
He usually
Proud guy.
says that's a 9 or a 10.
Yeah, he has his own rating scale. That's true. Well, is there anything else you can tell me about this complex person?
Well, he's very complex, and because of that, I have nothing more to say. No, actually, I have lots to say, but as a paid professional, as chancellor, I have to go out and administer justice and discipline to our football team, who are busy doing other things other than scoring touchdowns.
Well, here you have it from Cal over here in University of University of Cal. I don't know, wherever I'm at. I'm not really sure right now.
It's fantasy land.
But we're going to go on now to someone else and see what kind of insight they can provide us. Thank you. This is just to show you that we'll stop at nothing to find out who Bob Eustace is. Today we're at Engine House number 2, and I'm talking to
Milt Panagotakis.
and
Pete Gallagher.
And could you, one of you guys tell me in 25 words or less, who is Bob Eustace?
Who?
Bob, you know, the little guy with the great big,
Oh, Bob Eustace. Oh, yeah, I remember him. Yeah, I remember him. He used to be a little guy who used to stand on the pitcher's mound. We let him stand on the pitcher's mound and made him look taller.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe Pete remembers
He
him.
was the only guy who wore batting gloves on his feet.
That sounds like Bob,
I
yeah.
think that's Bob, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
What did they used to call him? I
I
forgot.
think it wasn't useless, it was useless.
Oh, useless. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Oh, that's because he hit so high. You know, his average was so high.
Yeah, leading hitter.
Oh, I go back a long way with Bob.
Yeah, you guys were potty trained together or something, I guess. That's what he said. I don't know.
Yeah, way back to junior high school with Mrs. Larney. And we had her 3 years for a homeroom teacher. Bob and I sat in the front row because we were the smallest, and she used to give us little pecks on our cheek every now and then, kissed us. And we were embarrassed first, but we started to like it by the time we graduated from the 9th grade.
How long have you known Bob?
10 years. 10 years, yeah. Yeah.
I remember a couple quick stories about Bob. I suppose that one of the things that I recall is I remember used to spend the night at his house when we were in junior high school, 7th, 8th, 9th grade or whatever, and we would set the alarm clock for the middle of the night, and then Bob would get on his hands and knees after waking up and crawl into his parents' room and take the keys from off the dresser, and then we'd go out and steal the father's car. And we'd go get donuts, and we'd drive around for an hour, we'd come back and park the car. Well, we did this a few times, and one time we got a little joke played on us, I guess. We took the car out, and we came back, the parking spot was gone. So we said, oh, shit, what do we do now? So we had to park the car in a different place and hope his dad didn't remember where he parked the car. But anything, things worked out. Nobody ever said anything about it, so we got out of that one all right. Anyway, Bob was a lot of fun on our softball team, and I'm sure everybody loved him. And we had some highlights with winning all our different championships in the city and playing for First Edition and Fat Ed's and going back to the bar and having a good time. And big hods, Bob, big hot odds.
Yeah, so you think Bob was as big a star out on the mound as he was, in the bathroom? Or
In the bathroom, in the restaurant, in the mound, any place, yeah.
Guy was great for pulling his pants down, that's one of the...
Loved to pull his pants down, always playing with his Larry, yeah. Not you, Larry, his Larry, yeah.
Well, we're trying to get a little insight here into Bob, and perhaps this will get us a little bit closer to what we're trying to find out. But anyway, here it is. It's a nice day, and I think we'll probably go somewhere across town and talk with someone else. So thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Happy birthday, Bob.
Yeah, happy birthday. 40-0. You know what? Bob doesn't look over 40. But
Okay, there's the opinion from the San Francisco Fire Department. Now we're going to get another opinion from San Francisco City College, where Bob is no longer employed. Hi, and your name is?
Tom Monroe.
Tom, tell me, how long have you known Bob, or where did you first meet Bob?
Carl, I met Bob 15 years ago, about 1972. I think he was maybe 25 and I was about 30, and I was teaching a class at San Francisco State. Bob shows up 2 weeks late and wants to join the class.
Bob is always late.
Apparently that's the case. Now, I normally wouldn't let him in. I would have said, come back next semester. But I had 25 little Chinese girls in there who couldn't speak English. I needed somebody to talk to. So I let him into the course.
You know, I think Bob can speak Chinese on occasion, or at least it sounds like it.
Well, after that class, it's easy to understand why. I also remember, Carl, that what he was after in there was an A grade. But after showing up 2 weeks late, that's pretty tough to do. And if I remember right, he did C work. However, I ended up giving the guy a B. And you know, why I did it was he sent a letter to the department chairman. Of course, I was trying to keep my job at the time, so I sent a letter to the department chairman telling the guy I was the greatest instructor that ever lived. So based on that letter, he got the B instead of the C.
Yes, Bob can also, we can also add the adjective of tactful sometimes.
Carl, as I remember, he was a hell of a fraternity man. He kept talking about the Greek house he was living in and the Greek house mother. Now, since that time, I think perhaps he's a little less confused.
Yeah, well, I'm still confused, though, so I think I'm going to go on and get another opinion from still someone else today. And now we're about to get a statement that probably makes more sense than anything else we've heard yet. From John Brown, better known as Brownie.
Happy birthday, Bob. This is John Brown. Kill the umpire.
That does make sense. Thank you. Well, since this is the eve of Bob's 40th birthday, I think it's only appropriate that we talk to
Gary Petrini.
Well, Gary, tell me, how is it that you know Bob?
I met Bob through softball up in Daly City.
Is it true that he's as good as the sporting papers say he is?
Well, I really don't know. Bob is just now being a rookie in the over 40 league. He's just going to start to play, so he's just a baby in our league.
You mean there's really hope in his future then, huh?
Well, we really can't tell until he gets the over 50 league.
Very good. Well, he'll probably be playing like that very soon, even before that.
It looks like he's playing like over 50 now.
Well, okay, those are kind words for Bob, and we'll be talking with somebody else next. Well, as you all know, Bob's a big star now. But on his way to the top, he must have made a few friends along the way. And one of them was...
David Chavar.
David, tell me, how long have you known Bob?
Well, about 5 years. But before we go on, I first want to say, hi, Bobby, darling. Happy birthday.
Yes, he is a sweetheart. I'll say that much. What do you remember about Bob when he was, climbing the ladder to the ranks of stardom?
Oh, well, we have our ups and downs, you know. The first thing I can remember about Bob is when I took over the district and he was in charge of Burlingame. The first day that I took over, his his restaurant was busted, and the whole safe was ripped apart, and there were quarters and dimes going all around the roof, down the beach, and everywhere. So that was a quite exciting day to start up a relationship with Useless.
Yes, Useless. Did that ever get resolved? I mean, did he? How did Bob handle that? I mean, he was still a rookie then.
No. Well, Bob is not a rookie. By no means at all. Bob is cool and he handled very well. It's we got a problem, we're going to deal with it. That's the way Bob is.
Well, you look like you're doing pretty well out here. Has Bob been out to see you lately?
Not lately. He's been staying away from here. He's been, last time I think he was here about 4 months ago. But I know that he has changed some jobs and, I guess he's doing well now because he got what he wanted to be. What is he, a principal now of a hotel and restaurant school in this area somewhere?
Yeah, well, I think he's a big star somewhere over at Los Madonnas. And,
Los Madonnas, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I have a lot of people that know him through the school, and they speak very highly of him. Yeah. So...
Well, in spite of all that, he's still boring, but...
But we love him.
And
he's charming, very charming.
Charming, yes he is. Always a ladies' man, right?
That's right.
Well, we're going to get another opinion next from someone else across town. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Bob.
Well, speaking of hemorrhoids, we have a world authority on them right here. And I think he'd like to add a few words to what we've already heard about Bob Eustace. And it's coming from
Craig Loop.
All right, Craig. Tell us a little about Bob.
Well, Bob and I can tell you a lot about Bob. I'll only tell you a little bit, though.
Yeah, just a little bit will be fine.
Yeah. Well, Bob and he and I go way back. We met, circa 1971 when I was bartending at Charlie Brown's. And I had the dubious task of trying to train Bob in the Charlie Brown style of bartending. Nothing magical about that, but compared to the gag and vomit gin mills Bob had been used to working, he needed a little polishing around the edges to work a nice dinner house. And the one thing I never could figure out about Bob is he had this fetish for celery stalks. And first thing he'd do when he came on shift is he'd find the biggest celery stalk we had to garnish Bloody Marys with, and he'd jam the thing in his mouth and wear it like a cigar. And he'd walk the planks with this thing in his mouth. And by way of example, I gave you a little example of how he would greet a customer. He'd have this thing stuck in his mouth. Like this. Guy would sit down at the bar. Bob's got this thing stuck. Hey, Jaime, what do you have? That was Bob in the early days. You know, he had this thing stuck in his mouth, and I think it had something to do with the small man fetish. And I'm not talking about the fact that he's 5'8".
He does brag a lot about that, though.
You're talking about an ex-roommate. He ain't got nothing to brag about. Anyway, Bob and I, we worked the bar together for a while, and of course he kicked around the restaurant business for about 10 or 15 years, and played restaurant roulette like all managers do, and finally established himself in the teaching profession. I don't know if that's good or bad, but the one thing that's kind of bothered me about teachers, and Bob especially, I don't want to see him get stereotyped, but there's this bad rap around about teachers that they can't make it in the real world, so they fall back on the only thing that they know, and that's education. But I want you to know that that is not true of Bob. The truth about Bob is that he can't teach either.
Well, that sounds a lot like Bob. Now I think we're really getting to find out something here that we haven't uncovered yet. Tell me, what would you describe as your most memorable experience with Useless?
Well, I'll get to the memorable moment in a minute, but first, I think we have a cue. Oh, my gosh. It's a telephone call. Let me see who it is. Hello? Yes, this is Craig speaking. Who's calling? Vince? Vince who? Vince Kikagawa? Hey, Bob, it's Vince Kikagawa, your old boss from Host International. Yeah, what's up, Vince? Yeah, I'm going to see Bob tomorrow. Right, they're having a surprise 40th birthday party for him. Yeah, sure, I'll give him a message. Yeah, I'll tell him hi. What else? You sure you want me to tell him that? Yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, Vince, good talking to you. Take care. Bye. Well,
damned if the phone isn't ringing again.
And Vince was pretty adamant about getting his point across.
I think Vince wanted to get a comment out here. Maybe we should hear it. What was his last statement, by the way?
What he said was, of course, he said, "Hi, Bob." Says, "Happy birthday." The other thing he said was that if he had to do it all over, he'd fire your ass again. But he loves you.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about that memorable experience? Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Well, yeah. There's so many things that Bob and I have done. Some are repeatable and some aren't. But if I had to narrow it down to one, it'd be the night that he and I were out boozing it up and carousing and juicing it, and Bob got a bug up his ass that he wanted to go to a massage parlor. And I told him that, I wasn't packing the cash to make the rounds at all the massage parlors, but he said, "No problem, I'm buying."
I wonder if it's the same one he took me to.
I think he had a charge account there. Anyway, we ended up at this place, and of course, being that Bob was buying, he got the pick of the litter. But that was nothing to brag about. I'm not saying they were ugly, but his looked like it would make a train take a dirt road. And mine looked like the train ran over. Anyway, it's...
I'm surprised Bob didn't want both of them in that case.
Yeah, he tried, but I wouldn't let him touch her. Anyway, the best way I could describe the whole thing was, without getting into a whole lot of detail, is to say that it was kind of like an X-rated Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And we were running through the halls, bouncing off walls, telling jokes, screaming and yelling, running around bare-ass naked. And the girls loved it too. I mean, this was their last trick of the night, and but they were having a good time. And
well, due to circumstances beyond our control and a dead battery, we now return to the studios to find out the finale of this great story.
Bob was accused by a couple ex-girlfriends of having dead batteries. Kind of fitting that it happened here. Anyway, it was a hell of an evening, probably the most memorable that I ever had with Bob. And, hey, let's do it again, big guy. Hey, by the way, did you ever find out what a local was? Happy birthday, Bob. God love you.
Jaime Putz here once again. What more could be said? Bob, on the eve of your 40th birthday, there's one thing I'd like to remind you. That 40 years equals 280 dog years. Profound, isn't it? Well, there's one thing we've determined from talking to all these people, and that's, Bob, you are boring, but we love you. Happy birthday.